Good morning, everyone. Happy to see you again, and welcome to today's Founders Conversation, May edition. Today, you'll excuse me, I'm not going to use my normal voice tone. Yes, I got the flu, so I'll be a bit subdued a bit. So today's conversation is on business marketing beyond borders. So my name is Kathy Kariuki, coordinator with Founders Profit Academy, which is a community within SME Founders Association. At FPA, we help businesses grow, scale, and thrive through our specialized coaching framework. So in my role, I support our licensed training coaching programs where we provide tools and support entrepreneurs to reach their full potential. So today we're excited to dive into a critical topic for SME, which is business and marketing beyond borders, overcoming challenges. So as you are aware, in today's evolving landscape, Kenya and African businesses have tremendous opportunities to expand beyond their local markets. However, with opportunity comes challenges, such as navigating cultural expectations, overcoming trade barriers, and the need to adopt strategies that ensure sustainable and successful growth. So our conversation today aims to equip you with practical insights and actionable strategies. So I'm joined today by our speaker, Barbara Kingori. So let me take you through her bio. So Barbara is a coaching and strategic marketing expert. Who has game-changing and enterprising marketing leadership with over 14 years of impressive track record of driving strategy and execution to build revenue and executing successfully market development programs within well-established companies in Kenya. She has a talent for developing consistent, powerful brand messaging across distribution channels in regional and global markets and through different customer segments. She's also an expert at developing and executing marketing strategies that aim to maximize profit and increase market share. Barbara is passionate about helping small and medium-sized enterprises enhance their competence, navigate compliance requirements, and gain access to capital for sustainable growth. So join me in welcoming Barbara Kingori. Morning,
Hi,
Barbara. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
About to get better.
Fantastic.
Yes. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
So now that we have had, you have a lot of marketing experience.
Yes.
You will need to give us those many examples in the many questions as we have this conversation.
All right. Definitely.
Yes, because especially that part where we have said helping small and medium-sized enterprises enhance their competence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so let us dive in. So, probably you can take us through one or two key challenges
Mm-hmm.
that businesses face when expanding beyond borders, particularly in Africa.
All right. Thanks, Kathy. So I think I will look at this from essentially maybe a marketing perspective, let's say, in terms of maybe
Mhm,
some of the challenges they would face if a brand wants to get into, or a company wants to get into the rest of Africa. And I
mhm,
think top of that list would be, limited market intelligence about the market. You really don't know what's happening, who will be your competitors in the market. You don't know how you position yourself. You don't know the nuances of the market. And
mhm,
so, and especially small businesses struggle to get this information and from for these markets. And
mhm,
this is it becomes a problem because as you roll out a brand, or as you roll out a product into the market, you really need to have done the research
mhm.
about the market, who would be your competitors, how will you position yourself, what is the pricing strategy, what are the customers' preferences, because this helps you get ahead of the curve, and you're also able to position the product well for it to sell. So I think that is
Yeah.
one of the biggest key challenges that SMEs face, is just lack of getting, where do I find this information
Mm,
to be able to know about this market. Or sometimes you can just find these also uh what would I call it? Like a lack of wanting to find the information. So very
mhm,
like, I will just roll it out. I will just go and figure it
mhm,
out. And I
mhm.
think that's you tend to also lose a lot of you can lose a lot of money with that kind of attitude. I think it's best to be a
Yeah,
bit prepared, and so taking that thing of
yeah.
finding out about the country you're going to, or where you're taking your product, is really important. Another
Mm,
thing you'd find maybe is logistics and infrastructure. Like, how do I take this product to this market? Unfortunately, in
mhm.
Africa, we are still struggling with poor transport networks,
Yeah, yeah,
delays at the ports. We know all the issues we have of at the port. Someone is asking for something so that they can release your product,
yeah,
um, and as much as it's what do you call it? It's a challenge, or it's our reality. Then planning makes it easier. How do you plan around this logistics, especially also knowing
yeah,
your product? Your product, is it easier to go by road? Does it need to be
mhm,
refrigerated? Like, you really also need to have all this information, and working with especially qualified, registered
yeah,
companies when you're doing your logistics is important, because these people also help you to navigate these challenges that you find
yeah,
at the border. But those are the two main ones I'd kind of lay out in terms of what I feel would be challenges. We do have the normal ones like access to finance. SMEs struggle with getting money. How do I expand? How do I get
yeah,
that? But I think the intelligence and the logistics sometimes catches people, like without notice, that these are things that you need to kind of pre-plan for you to be able to
mhm.
overcome these challenges. Yeah.
Mm. Now that
Mm,
you've mentioned especially, you've said something important. The I think the way SMS sort of you sort of feel like you don't want to really look for the information. So do you
mm.
feel, in your view, is it they don't want to look for the information, or they don't know where the information actually is?
I think that might have been the case previously, but I think in 2025,
Mm-hmm.
there's really, really, really no excuse about finding information. I think I
Um,
can tell you for sure previously, even as marketers, research was difficult. Like finding out just about pricing for competitors, pricing strategies, what are they doing? Because
mm,
see, going to a website, you can't really know. You go to the
yeah,
supermarket, like it used to be a lot of work. You'd have to go later, like if your product is
yeah,
listed in supermarket,
yeah.
go to supermarkets ahead with a pen and biro, unandika bay. Then you go to anywhere the
You
product
pretend to
is.
buy something
Yeah, or
from
even
the
you buy something
distributor.
first, right? Yes.
Yeah,
So I think that was that used to happen a while back.
yeah,
But I think with the advent of AI and all these search engines and all this
yeah.
ChatGPT, Gemini, like we have no excuse. We literally have no excuse not to do research properly now.
Mm,
All you need to do is how do you craft that prompt? How do you craft what you're looking for and feed that
mhm,
in ChatGPT? And you see, it's amazing what it can give you. And you can use
mm,
both ChatGPT and Gemini and see is there a difference. Does Gemini have more information than ChatGPT? Like it's really there's really no excuse in this day and age not to find anything. And so I think now it's more about the attitude that you're approaching this thing with
mhm,
and how are you, um, yeah, it's more about the attitude now. Like, how are you approaching it? What is it a priority?
mm,
What do you think?
yeah,
So yes, 2025. I don't think it's a reason because all you need to do is prompt and it'll give you all the information. It'll also guide you to the websites where you can find this
yeah,
information. Tell it I want to see. Send me the links where I can see this information. Who can I talk to for this? Like, it's really
yeah.
can help you do a lot of market research. Yeah,
Okay, so now we have done a bit of the research as you have advised us to do.
yeah.
So probably to guide us, what role
Mm,
does cultural diversity
mm.
play in marketing strategies across the African countries?
Oh, wow, that's such a good question because we are we are similar, but we're all different. It's very interesting, and culture plays such a big role in Africans' lives as much as we are as quote unquote modernized and we're living in a global village, but we know
Yeah,
reality that culture still is very strong.
yeah,
And respecting culture is something that Africans take seriously.
yeah.
And so when you're going to a new country, I think first of all, the consumer behavior might, vary across
Mhm.
language, the religion. Kenya, we are a majority Christian community. If you go to Nigeria, then there's a mix of there's a lot of Muslims. So how are you also positioning your product to the Muslim? What are the religious things you need to look out for?
Mhm.
Wordings, imagery, how you place the product, what are those things that you need to consider, especially if it's a market you want to break into.
Mhm.
Also customization of the product. Maybe like example, the Western Africa, they really like their food hot. East Africans, ours is mild. We are not into our food is not into very, it's not extremely chilly. You might find maybe with a specific lotion or hair oil, they have a preference. Maybe they have more natural women than women who straighten their hair. I've investigated that. Like you need to look at the nuances and the cultural differences for you to be able to also tell your story. How will you tell the story of your brand in this culture? um, and so when you combine all that, when you're also, and this helps when you're doing the research, because this is where you start knowing this country is half Muslim, half Christian, or it's full Christian. Okay. Um, they like this and this product. They like the things like this. So also in your storytelling and in your communication, you're able to, sorry, excuse me, you're able to communicate correctly. And so people don't look at your product and say, this one doesn't even understand us, or they say, where is this product from? So looking at all these things, when you are doing your research, you're able to know, okay, what language is spoken there? Is it English? Is it Kiswahili? Is it what do the consumers need, who are your consumers first, and where are they,
Mhm.
and how do they perceive products and what they do. And so you're able also to weave that into your product so that people accept your product when you move out there.
I like the aspect that you've brought in, storytelling,
Mm,
and I think I think one of the things that you've touched on is on language. And I think one of the challenges that also SMEs, yes, you've managed to go abroad, is also the ability to identify someone who guides you through the
mm-hmm,
language. So you sort of have, instead of like doing it, instead of saying like we are coming to the, we're already coming in, and let's quickly get the translation. I think
mm,
before we jump into getting all this translation, let us just first go through the language.
mm,
Because you see the mistake, the mistakes we also seem to make, well, just internationally, not just in Africa, is
mm,
we quickly get someone to translate. So it's quickly
yeah,
translated.
mm,
Okay, we will give the example of a Chinese to English,
yeah,
direct translation. Then, of course, there's a mismatch in the information that's been on the label, and you're thinking,
yeah,
this is not it. Yeah, so that's a good point. That's a good point.
mm, yeah. And it's very interesting, even simple things such as like an experience is a time we're rolling out a beer into South Sudan, and
Mhm,
it's a Kenyan beer, but we're exporting it to South Sudan.
mhm,
And it
mhm.
was an issue of a cup. The cup had to be different uh, because one color was considered something different in that country compared to Kenya.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's such
oh,
nuances that if you don't know, then you can make a mistake of rolling out a
yeah,
product and making people feel like you didn't care, like you don't even
yeah.
know about our culture and things. So we had to change the cap because it was the color we had here was offensive to the color that was there. To the color to that country, it would have been offensive. So small things like that can really make or break. And so, as you say, it's important to and as you say, leverage partnerships, leverage people who are already there. Use Find someone who's there who has been doing business and learn from them. As you say, don't do a translation to, or just translate it, the way and then it doesn't land. But find someone who's been there, an association, find a partnership that can really help and guide you through the process and maybe some of the nuances in that market.
I think you've already jumped into that one, so you'll expand on it. So
Yeah,
how
and I
can the
think for
small
small businesses,
business, yeah,
yeah.
how can the small business identify
Mm,
um, the partners, and then see how can they can probably build on how to scale their operations.
mm.
Mm,
Yeah, and I think for small businesses, partnerships is so important. I think you
mhm,
can't negate the value of partnerships because you don't have the what is that word called? And it escapes me. You don't have
mhm,
the privilege of being a big
mhm.
company, a big multinational with all the resources. And
Yeah.
so partnerships become very imperative for small businesses. And as I said, and I think all these things you'll see all stem from research. And that's why research is it's the first and fundamental role and thing you must do when you're trying to go into a new market. Because also
Mm,
within this research, now you start finding out, okay, in this market, do they have associations that ideally have information that help people who are trying to bring products in? Are there any trade institutions in your country that can help you when you're trying to export? The likes of Keproba, they help when you're in terms of branding and promoting your brand, the Made in Kenya brand. These are fantastic people to be on board if you're trying to export. Kentreat. You know, so when you're doing your research, you start finding out which institutions in my country, first of all, do I need to be a member of or join, so that I'm able to first also get information from about the markets that I want to go to, help me with
Mm,
branding. They'll be able to guide you about branding for that country. How do I position my product? Also in that other country, do they have contacts for someone in the other country that can help? As I said, are there any associations in the other country as well that can assist with you taking your product to that country? Things like member associations. An association like OWIT is across East Africa, for example. It's across Africa. And how can an organization like OWIT help you in these markets? They have contacts. So approach the OWIT Kenya and tell them, I'd like to take my products here. And they can help you have a contact in that country. If they don't, they can, help. They will help you,
mm,
especially if you're a member. And this is the importance of joining such associations.
mm,
And I think I encourage SMEs, especially, to join associations that is aligned to where they want to grow.
mm.
And we find you can't do it alone. Unfortunately, I don't think you can do it alone,
Yep.
as a small enterprise. And so joining these networks is important. Of course, a network like SFA is also an important network, because here you find people who are already exporting, you find community, you find resources, where you are able to get information and proceed. Or if they don't have, they have networks and they can introduce you to networks and
Mhm.
assist. So I think the importance of partnerships, especially associations and trade institutions that are specifically there for this reason, is imperative for SMEs to use.
I like that. I think one of the things always even I grapple with is, so you've joined this particular
Mm,
association. I
mm,
think you've put in something interesting. Look at what other associations they are in, or who they actually partner with or
mm,
collaborate with,
yeah.
and leverage on that network. I think not so
Mm,
much that I'm meeting um, Barbara, but I realized that Barbara is actually, she belongs to Owit.
mm,
Mm, okay,
yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think do your homework on the association and let them be aligned to your purpose or what you're trying to do. I think also blindly, just doing things blindly is also a big mistake, because you must be very intentional in especially the associations. You have to be very intentional on why you're joining that association. How is it going to help you? What is your purpose there? What is the
Yes,
reason association? So, because you're also investing time and money, so
yeah.
invest your time where you know you will reap at the end. You'll make connections, you'll be able to learn, and it's in the field of your business, and it's something that can uplift your business. So I think being intentional in which associations we're joining is also quite
Mhm.
important, as it is. Yeah.
I like that you've put in the word alignment, because many
Mm,
times you don't sit back and ask yourself, I joined. Let me look at the calendar of events. Which
mm,
ones would I be interested in participating in?
mm-hmm,
Uh, what kind of information do they normally send me?
yeah.
And even just check even how they communicate back to you. There are those, once you join, we're just interested in you joining. Whether we ever hear your voice, confirm your membership, those are details.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to cut that off. And I think so that we also
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
demanding accountability from wherever we are. All right, that's a good one. Let's come to something else.
Mm,
I think you'll use the example. I want you to use the example that you gave us from the alcoholic beverage. So in this particular questions, so this question is asking, what operational adjustments are necessary for businesses to maintain efficiency while scaling across borders?
Hmm. Yeah, I think one, and leaning to that lesson is, first of all, you know, um, from a production perspective, like
Mm-hmm.
it had to be planned in advance, because so it doesn't disrupt local needs. So there was planning that was needed to strengthen the supply of the product, so that we are able to still provide the product locally without shortage and
Mm-hmm.
export. So, here you have to strengthen your supply chain, and, how do you ensure you're able to consistently, one, uh, export that product without shortages, but also not affecting your main market. Don't forget, you're also uh, in Kenya, so you're not
Mm-hmm.
exporting everything. You also have customers here and have a business here.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you need to do is plan, especially if it's something you either produce or manufacture, whatever it is. You need to be able to still support your main market, and as well as the export. And also with the export, what is your projection? Have you done projection, and seen how much maybe do I need to have in the next 3 months, 4 months, and be able to do that? Because let's say, even if you, for example, decided to partner with a distributor in the
Mm-hmm.
foreign country,
Mm-hmm.
um, what have you worked at in terms of numbers? Are you able to produce that? Are you able to, in how long will it take you? What do you need? So I think that is a very important bit first, doing the planning on how you'll be able to retain or manage your export, as well as your main. And so that was one key lesson, because if you are not able to do that, then one or the other will suffer. So if your export, you don't have local, then you start bottling for export, or if you don't have enough for local, export suffers. So that planning is really important, and it's a delicate balance, because a new market is unpredictable,
Mm-hmm.
and so it needs a constant check, like, where are we, how does it look like, are we going to be able to do this next month? So it needs you to be very hands-on, and that also leads to the other thing of, you also need to be well staffed for this export. You can't be doing, you are the one running the Kenya office, now you want to run the Uganda office. Hi, you'll not be able to do this constant check, or this, you'll not be able to be on top of everything.
Yeah.
So another thing was, having resources, human resources, especially to assist if you have a new market. And these resources are dedicated specifically to the new market. It doesn't have to be, it can be an internship, it can be a contract, because maybe once the market stabilizes, then you're able to handle things. So don't also look at it like, oh, I have to now invest. No, you can find a contract based kind of
Mm-hmm.
employment, where someone is with you maybe 3 to 6 months to help you stabilize, to help,
Mm-hmm.
checking, sure everything is working well. And so that is also another key thing, because you cannot be everywhere at the same time. One thing will
Yes.
definitely suffer. I know SMEs really struggle to employ people. I don't know, is it it's a fear, or you want to do it everything, especially people who are solopreneurs, let's say, you you really don't want. But I think, and also in the advent of new technologies these days, is websites, you can go get a virtual assistant, you can get someone who can assist you with these things.
Mm.
So I think, let's not shy away from utilizing the resources that are available to us to expand. We need to invest for you to grow, and I think that's what's the most important thing. Another thing is, digitize things that can be digitized. Not everything has to be manual,
Mm.
um are you able to digitize your inventory? Tools like, I think Zoho has a great CRM. Odo, it's called Odo. Also, there's so many, I think, new um companies that are coming in, and they're geared specifically. Also, pricing is geared for SMEs,
Yeah.
for you to be able to digitize. If you're a bigger company, maybe you have a couple of employees and stuff. Have you used a resource like WorkPay, where it digitizes your HR issues and leave and everything? So some things you don't have to keep thinking about. They are all automated. So let's automate as much as we can in terms of things that can. And as I said, these days there are tools that are as simple as can be, that can track your inventory, your orders, what you've shipped. And so it
Yeah.
also is not so manual. So you are losing sijui it was in which diary uliacha wapi your notebook, you can't remember where the notebook where you left it. Now it's a crisis.
It was in
you
the
know
plane, it was in the bus, it was in that taxi.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So now it's a whole crisis because everything is there. Let's digitize as much as we can in terms of processes and systems. And then yeah, so another thing is it's important as also as you get more help, you also need to learn how to delegate some decision making. Like, does everything really have to pass through you? Or can you give someone also the power to make some decisions? Then you decide which decisions, and then they're able to kind of so that things can move quickly. Because I think another thing is this thing is about pace and being able to building trust. And I think when you're building trust, it needs to be reliable, fast, efficient, so that people can also trust you, so people can know, okay, this is something that we can consistently trust on rely on. And
Yeah.
so if the decisions you need, someone needs, who maybe they're the person you hired on contract, and there's some things
Mm-hmm.
they can decide on immediately. They don't have to say, okay, let me get back to you, let me call so and so. There's sometimes you go
Yeah.
to a shop to buy something, negotiating a price. Let me call the person and then I let you know. I get so frustrated. I'm like, you have no leg room as the person who's at the shop to
Mm-hmm.
make a small decision about a discount. Give a range. If
Mm.
someone, let's say, tell them don't go below this, then someone can
Yeah.
negotiate and
Yeah.
yeah, from there, no. But people give some of these things, you can put measures in place so that someone can be able to make a decision. So I think also that is quite important. Um, yeah, I think those are some of the things I can think talk about. Oh, and also compliance with anything in the foreign country. Do they have any laws or policies that you really need to follow?
Oh.
To yeah, in terms of labeling, and that's where some of these trade support institutions come on board, because maybe some countries labeling has to be done in a certain way. You have to mention something, maybe the what is it called, the ingredients have to be very well
Mm-hmm.
displayed from the country. And
Yeah.
so compliance with it is very important because it also helps you avoid any issues with government and with anything. So it helps you avoid those things. So that's what I said. It also links to knowing and the research, and these institutions can help you, especially Keproba can help you with branding, and they know all the needs for the other markets, and they can help you ensure that you're compliant. So also compliance, I think, is quite important.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. So
Mm,
we have already gone into the market. We have looked at how we're going to build partnerships. We have thought about operational adjustments. Now
mm,
we need to think through us staying there. So how can the Kenyan business incorporate sustainability into their international marketing strategy?
mm. Um, I think for you to be sustainable, and I think this leads to the planning I'd mentioned in terms
Mm-hmm.
of as you're planning to strengthen your
Yeah.
supply chain. There's really a lot of planning that needs to take place before you export,
Mm.
because for you also to grow, there needs to be you had kind of thought of, okay, when I get there, what do I do? What do I need to, as you're saying, what do I need to grow?
Yeah.
And so, first of all, definitely you need human resources in that country. As I
Yeah.
said, you can't
Mm.
be
Mm.
everywhere. And so, through the partnerships, I think, and some of these associations, that really helps in terms of also getting to know what you can do in that country. Do you need to set up an office, or do you need to get in a co-working space for you to be able to at least have, or you also don't need, or maybe the associations have offices that you can use for cheap or for free if you're a member of that association. So some of those
Mhm.
are some of the things you can start thinking of. And then in terms of once you're there, if you're there, and especially if as a person or the founder, you will need to, of course, spend some time in the new market, because ideally, if you have set up, let's say your Kenya systems and processes well, then you don't have to be 100%. So when you move into now the new market, now it's up to you as a founder, as the owner, to start, you know, um, quote unquote networking, or also just knowing what's happening in the market, in your category, in your industry, let's say. Starting to find out in this industry what opportunities are there, for me to display my products. Are there any fairs, trade fairs? Are there any situations where I can go and interact with where my consumer is? It could be, yeah, let's say, for us example, alcohol. Are there any concerts? Where can I go to make sure people sample my product,
Mm,
people see my product? If it's an
mm,
example like mattresses, like I used to market mattresses. Is there a place you can set up like a bed with a mattress? People can test and sit on it. So now you start thinking about the activities, that you can implement in this country, because now you're on ground. So you start looking for
yeah.
opportunities where as many
Mhm.
consumers as possible can interact with your product, and you can be able to talk about your product. And of course, looking at those ones that are low cost, and back to the association, do they usually have webinars or workshops where you can, go put a banner in the table, people interact with your product, talk about your products? Are you looking for opportunities where you can speak on what you do and why you're in that
Mhm.
market? So I think
Mhm.
it's now looking for opportunities to interact with your consumers, for you to speak about your business, for you to network with the relevant people. Is it now, maybe you started with a distributor and that's what the channel you have been using to take your products? Have you now started looking at listing in the supermarket? So does this, what first of all, what kind of agreement do you have with the distributor? Because there's two kind of agreements you can have with the distributor, where the first one is all they do is just stock your products. So they help you with the logistics and they provide warehousing, and that's where their work stops. But there are those ones
Yeah.
who help with marketing and distribution actually into the markets. And
Mm,
so if yours is the one that they're just providing warehousing, then you'd need a lot more work in terms of putting the product in place and taking it to the outlets and supermarkets and everything. um, and so I think, based on, it's advisable if you're starting out. Okay, from my end, I think I would try and do the model of the distribute and also take it to the outlets. And
mhm,
so maybe what I'm coming to do is maybe sampling in a supermarket or testing in a supermarket, or then how do I just get the people to know about the product? Do you have an
mhm,
offer that you give to consumers so that they can purchase and all these things? So now you start looking at the strategies on ground and what you can do, because I think at the beginning you'd really need to do a lot of what we call below the line activations. And below the line means it's one-on-one with consumer. It's getting to know the consumer, interacting with the consumer interacts with your product, and then from there you now move into maybe above the line. Once you go, you go to social media, because as much as there's, if you're a new product, social is good, but human behavior is, unless I have seen that product or interacted with it, it's hard for me to trust. As much as there's social, there's an element of also people seeing it on ground that links. So it has to be, it can't be just social and people have never seen your product. People will be like, "Sasa, where will I get this?"
yeah.
So if you're doing a lot, maybe in the supermarkets, in the malls, then you support that now with social. So people are also seeing it online. They're seeing it online. They're coming to the malls. They're finding you there. They go to a concert. So when that's when your mind, our minds are very interesting, because the more you see something, the more it starts. you start seeing emotions. It's called the red
That's
car
speaking.
theory. Yeah. The minute you start seeing red cars, then you're seeing red cars all the time. The minute you start seeing a specific car, then everywhere that car is everywhere. So that's how you also market. They're seeing you on social media when they go to this market. Maybe you have an offer, you have something big, or if you go here, and that's essentially how multinationals get you to purchase the product. And that's how you do. So the beer is on a billboard, the beer is on social media, the beer is on TV, the beer is in the bar having an activation. In the mall, there's something happening that is constantly in the face. And so people now start
Yeah.
seeing the product and what with it. So I think a combination of those activities plus also social would help you start penetrating, to your consumer. Yeah, I think those are some of the things you can do, to start now being growing and being sustainable. I think in the market. Yeah, so those it needs a lot of groundwork. It'll still need a lot of groundwork and a lot of activities for you to be able to start growing. But of course, as I said, human resource partnerships will still come on board here. In terms of networks, where can you to help guide you
Yeah,
on that path.
definitely.
Mm,
Mm. But when you were talking about us interacting with the product, I was thinking how currently how we have, I say we're having like beauty products overload.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that's an overload, obviously. The
Mm,
influx of, especially the facial product,
mm,
that's crazy. And the way you have actually said now, they're all adopting the same tactic. Let me show you how to, is it use the cleanser. So
mm,
whatever video they use, we're all using the cleanser and so on and so forth. Then I think they're still missing out on something. You're not telling me what is in the product.
mm, mm.
Yeah, so you have taught me how to use it, where I can use it, what I will look like definitely after I use it. But the most important is what is in that product. So we need to get there as consumers as well. But I like
Yeah,
that point. Yeah, for the
yeah.
for the interaction, especially with the product. And I think that's also something as a small business, think through as you're doing the research.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to our initial question on the role cultural diversity.
Please. Mm,
Yeah, so this country, these are some of the events that draw people together. What
yeah.
is it that draws
Mm,
people together? Those in the urban cities, what draws them
mm-hmm.
together? Those who are in this particular region, what do they actually participate in? What is the biggest festivity that they usually have? And those are the things, as you said, we kind of miss out on that because again
Yeah.
we are focused on the trade exhibitions, how many retail
Mm,
stores there are, what kind of a distribution they have, and then we forget about the way. Then it comes now to actually the way you said interacting with the consumer. Oh my God! Now we start trying to run again, trying to get the agencies.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm,
So we come to another question.
yeah.
How do you feel businesses, now you're giving them advice, the
Mm,
businesses in Kenya, how they need to innovate to stand out in competitive international markets?
mm,
Um, I think try and pick on something that you feel, try and think of a product that you feel is would fit out there. Probably there's a need for it, but still doesn't get there.
mm. Try to think of a product. I feel
Yes.
an interesting conversation I had.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting
Uh-huh.
conversation I had with some friends.
Yeah.
Do you know that
Hmm.
the I didn't know this, and I'm still researching and investigating. But did you know the dawa is unique to Kenya?
Sorry, what
I did
dawa?
the dawa, the
The
ginger.
drink. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So And I kept asking, I'm like, what? I was like, hey, yeah, in my mind, it blew my mind because I'm like, oh yeah, actually, I've never gone somewhere and found dawa. And so if you ask
Uh-huh.
yourself, what's the difficulty in exporting dawa? Why, why has someone never thought? I'm like, we just started asking ourselves, why has someone never thought of this thing to be exported as a product made in Kenya? It's unique, it's nutritious, it's healthy, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so it got me thinking, like, is that like a lost opportunity that maybe? And the thing is, it's not owned by anyone. It's not.
No.
But it was just interesting conversation on how such a unique Kenyan thing is still just a unique Kenyan thing. Yet it's
Yeah.
natural. The trend in the world is health things.
Yeah.
Even online, you'll see people making those ginger shots and stuff. Like ours are all sold in
It's
cafes and
natural.
all those things. So it was just an interesting conversation on how there's some very Kenyan thing or Kenyan products that
Yeah.
still haven't gone out there. And maybe someone is
Yeah.
in the process of creating it. I don't know. But it was a very enlightening conversation we had with my friends around how, like, it's not there, you know. And I'm like, is it because maybe, is it, how would how would you take it? Is this a concentrate? Is it what? Like, we went very deep. Then we're like, okay, are we trying to sell dawa or not?
Yeah.
But I think that's now it leads me to the point of leverage the identity, especially if it's made in Kenya. Just
Yeah.
leveraging made in Kenya is also, it's important, especially if you're trying to stand out in those markets. And as
Yeah.
we had mentioned, Pogba have a made in Kenya band or logo or stamp. It's a stamp
Yeah.
that really gives you credibility and helps you stand out in other markets and compete in other markets, because no one else can claim made in Kenya other than Kenyans. And so I think that's also one thing we should not run away from, and take it with pride. Also owning your identity and your where you come from,
Mhm.
usually is seen as, is viewed normally with people, are like, you're proud of your heritage, you're proud of where you come from, and it kind of elevates you instead of trying to hide and copy other people and other things. So first, leveraging your
Yeah.
Kenyan identity, saying we are here, this is what who we are. Kenyans are regarded as a product, and I think Keproba has done a lot of work to kind of do the groundwork to ensure that the made in Kenya brand is a respected quality mark. So I think
Yeah.
leveraging on that is important. It's currently free to do the made in Kenya trademark, I mean, stamp. So just visiting Keproba, the website, you can find steps on how to get that. I think another thing is, how do you uh, use, I'm trying to think of the word. So how do you leverage on also the impact you're having, I think, on maybe the lives you're touching and the impact maybe you're having on a community, because
Mhm.
let's say, for example, and I think for the longest time, the weaving and the leather products that come from Kenya, our baskets, our kiondors, all these things that go out,
Mhm.
it's more also on telling the story of the impact you're having on communities, that you're able to employ people to live a decent livelihood based off the products that you're making. So I think also kind of talking through the story of the brand storytelling will also be very important here, and weaving this into the lives you impacted, because especially if you're doing products and things that need people to make them, you are gainfully employing. So also talking about how this product is also gainfully employing you, but also gainfully employing others and providing livelihood to others. That story it's an important story, I think, to tell, especially in international markets. It's something that people can identify with, and people can say, okay, this is a small business that's trying to do this. So also leveraging on brand storytelling is quite important. Another thing I've always thought of is what can you offer as value add? Let's say you make leather bags. What can you offer that's something just goes beyond I've bought this. What other practical thing does your consumer use? So um if you know your consumer very well and you've done all your research, you know, okay, for women when they buy a handbag, sometimes they need a coin pass. You
Mm-hmm.
know, where to put coins. Is it something you can just add there for free? As an add-on into the bag? Is it a small card holder? If it's you know, what something extra can you add as value add for whatever you're selling? If it's um if it's a kiondo, would you be able to provide? Like for me, I struggle to store my kiondos. They just lose shape. So I'm always thinking, how can I keep this thing in shape? I'm like, yeah, there's some things I think of, and I'm like, those are some of the questions I think. Look at the use of the product and the people using your product, and what would be something that would you can offer
Mm.
at very minimal cost to you as a business, but would be such a great relief to the consumer.
Mm.
And so some of the things I think these days, as you buy products, people usually put maybe for your sweet or uh, the somewhere I went and bought, they put for me a hairband. I was like, that's such a very smart thing because women are always, especially if you have braids, you're always looking for a hairband somewhere and everywhere. So I thought it was so in resourceful or innovative for you to put that because it makes me remember you. It definitely makes me remember you as I use that product.
Mm.
I think that's such an impactful way to keep your brand top of mind to consumers because it was just by solving one small thing. I'm telling you that hairband thing. I went back there because I knew I'd get another hairband. So that's what I'm telling you because I'm like, oh, you're solving now. I have hairbands everywhere because we struggle with those things. We are always losing those to hairbands. So I think those are some of the things. And ask, sit down and think and see what can you add as a small value add that really helps you stick to your consumer's mind. And so, as I said, yeah, for me, yeah, as I said, is it a small coin pass for handbags that you sell? Is it a keychain? If you sell something, would you give people a small keychain that's engraved or something that shows made in Kenya? Um, if as I said, and also as I said, this all starts linking to once you've done your research well and you've understood your consumer, you'll be able to know what you can do extra for these people. What do they value? What are the things that they find so important? And this really provides a lot of loyalty and a lot of word of mouth because someone will see me something like, where did you get that? Oh, I got it from here. Oh, I got it from here. So also it
Mm.
spreads marketing. It makes your marketing easier through word of mouth. But also, I think another thing is continuously investing in your product development, and improving with, um, what's coming. Like, are they keeping? I think in what is it called? In trend with anything that's happening in the invest in research, finding out what trends are happening in that country, what are
Mhm.
people now interested in. Can you create what is it called, uh the what like special pack for that season, the way, um for example, like I think Java, Java and at Cafe do it very well. If it's Christmas, their cups are Christmas. If it's reward, it's very small, but it's very noticeable. And you're like, oh, you're in season. Or they produce a seasonal coffee that they sell at a
Mm.
special price, at a low
Mm.
price. So also investing in product development and some of those things. So as you said, if you find maybe you're in a country with Muslims at Ramadan, what do they do? What do they use? Is there something you can produce specifically for Ramadan? Or if they are very Christian, is it Christmas? Can you produce something special for Christmas? Um, so investing in those product development because it endears you to customers. Is there a specific holiday that is so big in that country? And maybe you say, I can only do one thing. And maybe you say, okay, I'll pick the biggest holiday or the biggest thing that they celebrate as a whole country and produce
Mm.
something specific for that. So these are some of the things you need to start looking at. And of course, I'm not saying that they have the we know that they don't have the finances and stuff for multinationals, but I think with planning you can be able to do something that does not break the bank, because maybe it is something as simple as changing your label um, for 1 month and having that as a unique thing, and it's a limited edition. That's the word I was looking for. Limited edition product. So you also just say I can produce 50 labels or 100 labels, and this is all I'm doing, or it's 100 unique design or 10 unique designs that are specific for this season or for specific for something. And that's what you kind of roll out in terms of to help you stand out from everyone else, and also to help you gain loyalty, because people see you're trying to uh, put yourself into that country and the things that they love and the things that they do. Yeah.
Mm. I
Mm.
liked when you were describing for us the Dawa. So I think for the Kenyan businesses, yeah, it's interesting
Yeah.
because it's Kenyan, it's natural.
Mm.
We're using homegrown ingredients. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. Yeah, it got me thinking. Perhaps someone can do
I
can
know.
create. I think what is it? Goat head soup. Yeah. I mean, those are the things we have here.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're like uniquely Kenyan.
yeah, and it's uniquely Kenyan. I mean, why? How has the mushroom soup and the chicken soup
Mm.
managed to penetrate the market? So I mean, why not? It can be turned into a powder,
It
somewhat.
can. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. I really we went down into that thing. Is it a concentrate? How do you sell it? Is it going to be like cold pressed? Or how would you say, eh? Then I thought, I'm
Exactly.
like, okay. I'm like, if you've thought like this, I'm always like, someone else has thought. But I'm like, anyway, it's also an opportunity for people to look at what's truly Kenyan that you feel can be really globally accepted, and package
So,
that, and you know take it outside to the world to see.
yep. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Barbara, for quite an insightful conversation.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this week's Founders Conversation, powered by the SME Founders Association, where we connect entrepreneurs and professionals to money, markets, and mentors. So joining us is easy. Simply visit our website and become a partner for 5,000 shillings, which will help unlock access to valuable learning and networking opportunities. I've been your host, Catherine Karaoke. Until next Thursday, keep marketing beyond and looking forward to hosting you again. Thank you so much.